The rehearsal dinner was held at one of the most expensive hotels in Lagos, a glass and marble building overlooking the lagoon, where the air smelled faintly of salt and wealth. Crystal chandeliers shimmered above long banquet tables dressed in white linen. Gold cutlery reflected the soft glow of candlelight. A live jazz band played gently in the corner, hired specifically to sound tasteful, not loud. Everything about the night was designed to impress, and Clara Whitfield wanted it perfect. She moved through the hall like she owned it, even though the hotel staff technically did. Her designer gown hugged her frame, her heels clicked sharply against the marble floor, and her voice carried effortlessly over the music whenever something displeased her, which was often. The flowers are too close to the aisle. Why is that table missing wine glasses? Who approved this seating arrangement? People nodded, apologized, adjusted. Clara expected nothing less. Tomorrow she would be the bride everyone talked about. Tonight was simply a rehearsal for control. Daniel Whitfield, her fiancé, stood nearby speaking with business associates and distant relatives. He came from old money, oil, real estate, shipping. His family name alone could close deals or open doors across Nigeria. Clara loved him, yes, but she also loved what marrying him represented. Status, security, recognition. Across the room, Ethan Cole balanced a tray of drinks, moving carefully between tables. He was dressed like every other waiter. Black trousers, white shirt, black vest. His hair was neatly trimmed, his shoes polished but visibly worn. He kept his head down, focused on his work. At 29, Ethan had mastered invisibility. He worked catering jobs across Lagos on weekends and evenings, taking whatever shifts were available. The pay wasn't great, but it was steady, and he preferred staying busy. There was comfort in routine, in honest work that didn't ask questions. As he approached a table near the front, one of the guests reached for a glass of champagne. Ethan adjusted the tray slightly, and a drop of liquid splashed onto the tablecloth. It was barely noticeable, but Clara saw it. "Hey!" The sharpness of her voice cut through the music like a blade. Conversations faltered. Heads turned. Ethan froze. "I'm so sorry, ma'am," he said quickly, reaching for a napkin. "Sorry?" Clara stepped closer, her eyes scanning the table as if he had committed a crime. "Do you know how much this setup costs?" "I'll clean it immediately," Ethan replied calmly. She laughed, loud and unpleasant. "You people always say that." The words hung in the air. Ethan straightened slowly. "I understand the inconvenience. I'll replace the cloth." "You understand?" Clara repeated. "If you understood anything, you wouldn't be working a job like this." A few guests shifted uncomfortably. Someone looked down at their phone. No one intervened. Ethan felt heat rise in his chest, but his face remained composed. "I apologize again." Clara folded her arms. "This is not a roadside party. This is a high-class event. If you can't keep up, maybe you should find work more suited to you." Her eyes traveled deliberately over his uniform, his shoes. "Honestly," she added, "I don't know why they hire people like you for places like this." Silence followed. Ethan nodded once. "I'll take care of it." As he turned away, Clara called after him, loud enough for half the room to hear. "And don't let it happen again. This isn't charity." The humiliation followed him into the service corridor, where the noise of the kitchen swallowed the music. A fellow waiter shook his head sympathetically. "Some people," he muttered. Ethan exhaled slowly. "It's fine. It always was." He finished the shift without another word, cleaned his station, and changed in the cramped staff room. When he stepped outside, the humid Lagos night wrapped around him. Traffic hummed in the distance, horns echoing faintly. He walked to the bus stop, sat on the bench, and stared ahead. What Clara didn't know, what she never thought to consider, was that waiting tables was not the sum of Ethan Cole's life. It was only a piece of it. The next morning, Victoria Island buzzed with excitement. The Whitfield wedding was the event of the season. Influential politicians, CEOs, oil executives, and socialites filled the guest list. Security was tight. Valet drivers lined the long driveway leading to the private waterfront venue. Inside, Clara sat in front of a mirror as stylists adjusted her hair and makeup. Her wedding dress, flown in from Europe, spilled across the floor in layers of lace and silk. "This is it," her mother said proudly. "The day you've been waiting for." Clara smiled at her reflection. Everything was exactly as it should be. Outside, luxury cars began to arrive. Black Range Rovers, Mercedes sedans, a few Bentleys. Guests stepped out dressed in their finest, cameras flashing, greetings exchanged. Then the sound came. A deep, unmistakable engine roar turned heads at once. From the far end of the driveway, a metallic gray Lamborghini rolled forward, sleek and unmistakably out of place even among the luxury vehicles. It moved slowly, deliberately, commanding attention without trying. Guests stopped walking. Valets straightened. Phones came out. The car pulled to a smooth stop near the entrance. The scissor door lifted upward, and Ethan Cole stepped out. He wore a tailored navy suit that fit him perfectly. His posture was relaxed, confident. A subtle watch gleamed on his wrist. He handed the keys to a stunned valet with a polite nod. "Take care of it," he said casually. Whispers rippled through the crowd. "Who is that? Is he with the Whitfields? That car alone costs a fortune." Inside the bridal suite, one of the bridesmaids peered out the window and gasped. "Clara, you need to see this." Annoyed, Clara stood and walked over. She glanced down, and her smile vanished. For a moment, she couldn't process what she was seeing. The suit, the car, the way people were already gravitating toward him. Then he looked up. Their eyes met. Her stomach dropped. "That's not possible," she whispered. Downstairs, Daniel's father broke into a wide smile. "Ethan, you made it." They shook hands warmly, then hugged. "Wouldn't miss this for the world," Ethan replied. Several guests joined them, greeting him like an old friend. Someone mentioned his latest project in renewable logistics. Another congratulated him on expanding into West African markets. Ethan listened, smiling politely, deflecting praise. Years earlier, while studying engineering at university in Nigeria, Ethan had built a software platform to optimize supply chains for mid-sized businesses. What started as a side project grew rapidly. Investors noticed. Expansion followed. He sold a significant stake but kept his role, reinvesting wisely. He lived simply, avoided headlines, and focused on building quietly. The catering jobs were something he kept intentionally. Weekend work that reminded him of humility, of effort, of people. Daniel, the groom, had once shared a dorm room with him. When Ethan struggled, Daniel helped. When Daniel needed guidance later, Ethan returned the favor. Clara descended the stairs slowly, her expression carefully neutral. She approached the group, her smile tight. "Hello," she said. "I don't believe we've properly met." Ethan turned to her, recognition calm in his eyes. "We've met." The pause was unmistakable. Daniel frowned slightly. "You two know each other?" "Briefly," Ethan said. Clara laughed nervously. "Yes, from yesterday." "Oh." Daniel raised an eyebrow. Ethan met Clara's gaze. "I was part of the catering staff at the rehearsal dinner." Understanding dawned. Daniel's expression darkened. "You were working?" "Yes," Ethan replied. Clara rushed in. "It was nothing serious. Just a misunderstanding." Ethan said nothing. Daniel studied her, then looked back at Ethan. "I'm sorry if anything was uncomfortable." Ethan smiled faintly. "It's fine." But Clara knew it wasn't. Throughout the ceremony, her focus wavered. The vows sounded distant. Applause felt hollow. Every time she glanced at the guests, she saw Ethan, calm, respected, fully at ease. At the reception, the speeches began. Glasses clinked. Laughter rose. Then Daniel's father took the microphone. "There's someone I'd like to acknowledge," he said. "A young man whose integrity and intelligence continue to impress me. Ethan Cole." The applause was immediate and enthusiastic. "He represents the future of Nigerian enterprise," the man continued. "And we're proud to have him as part of our family's circle." Ethan stood, offered a brief thank you, and sat back down. Clara's chest tightened. Later that evening, she found Ethan standing near the waterfront. City lights shimmering across the water. "I owe you an apology," she said quietly. He turned to face her. "I was rude, disrespectful. I judged you without knowing anything about you." "Yes," Ethan replied calmly. She swallowed. "I'm sorry." He nodded. "I appreciate that." She hesitated. "I didn't mean." "I know," he interrupted gently. "But intent doesn't erase impact." The words stung more than anger would have. "I hope you understand now," he added, "that dignity isn't tied to position, or uniforms, or what someone drives." Clara looked down. "I do." They stood in silence for a moment. When Ethan left later that night, the Lamborghini rolled quietly out of the venue, leaving behind whispers, lessons, and a memory Clara would never forget. Because in a world obsessed with appearances, the deepest humiliation often comes not from being exposed, but from being reminded of who you chose not to see.